Every time you explain yourself, you lose. You just don't feel it yet. You think clarity protects you. You think if they just understood, they'd stop. But they don't stop. They get louder, they get bolder, and you get smaller. You've been explaining yourself your whole life, at work, at home, in your own head. Every explanation you gave was a door you opened, and they walked right through you. You gave them your reasoning. You gave them your vulnerability. You gave them a map to your weaknesses, your needs, your limits, everything they needed to win. And here's the worst part. You thought you were being honest. You thought that was strength. They called it weakness. They were right. Stay with me. This is going to change everything. You were taught that explaining yourself was the right thing. You followed the rules. They told you, communicate, be transparent, show your work, be accountable. And you listened because you believed in fairness, in good faith, in being understood. But the system wasn't built for fairness. It was built for leverage, and you gave it freely. Every time you explained, they cataloged, they filed it, they waited. Your vulnerabilities became ammunition. Your honesty became their intelligence report. And every time they used it against you, you explained more, trying to fix it, making it worse. This isn't about you being broken. This is about you being targeted. There's a difference. The people around you who keep winning, study them. When was the last time they explained themselves to you? They don't explain, they decide, they move, and they never apologize for existing. That's not cruelty. That's a different understanding of how power actually moves. You were never in a conversation. You were in an interrogation, and you were the only one talking. That ends today. Not with anger, with understanding, with strategy. You didn't lose because you were weak. You lost because you played by rules no one else was following. There was a man who understood this centuries before any self-help book dared whisper it. Machiavelli, Florentine diplomat, political strategist, the most misunderstood thinker in history. They called him evil. They burned his books. They could not answer his arguments, so they attacked his name. What he actually wrote was a field manual for reality, not for monsters, for the awake. He watched princes fall. He watched clever men lose, and he identified the exact moment it always happened, the moment they opened their mouth to justify themselves. That was the wound. That was always the wound. He wrote, and this is the only time you'll hear this directly, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." Not cruelty, realism, the cost of being misread. What he meant, the world does not respond to your feelings, it responds to your positioning. Remember that. Silence doesn't mean you have nothing to say. It means you've decided what is worth saying. You know the scene. Your boss questions your decision. Your instinct is to flood the room with reasons. Every reason you give is a negotiation. You're telling them where your floor is. They will go straight to it. The psychology, when you explain, you signal uncertainty. Certainty needs no footnotes. Starting today, when challenged, pause 3 full seconds before responding. Then answer the question you chose to answer. Drop this in the comments. Silence is my strategy. Then keep reading. Every time you justify yourself to someone who didn't earn that access, you submit. You just don't call it that. You explain to your partner why you need space. You explain to your friend why you didn't come. You explain. Always. The psychology, justification frames you as the defendant. It frames them as the court. You chose those roles. This knowledge is for protection, not for destruction. Use it to stop bleeding, not to wound. Starting today, replace "let me explain" with action. Let the results speak. Results never apologize. What you don't say occupies space. What you do say fills a void they could have filled with respect. You recognize this. The moment you told them your full plan, they immediately found a reason it wouldn't work. The psychology, people respect what they cannot fully map. Mystery creates deference. Exposure creates targets. The most powerful people you know, they carry an interior world you never get fully invited into. That's not accident. Starting today, Let your work be known. Let your process be private. Show outcomes. Guard origins. Drop this in the comments. I am the destination, not the pursuit. When you need their approval, you have handed them a lever. Every explanation is you pulling it yourself. You've sent the message hoping they'd say it was fine. They didn't, so you sent another, then called, then explained again. The psychology, approval seeking, exposes your metric. They now know what you measure your worth against. They own that scale. Starting today, validate yourself first and only. Your internal verdict is the only one that opens the next door. Drop this in the comments. I validate myself, and mean it when you type it. Once they know why you did something, they can reframe it. They can make your strength into your flaw. You took the promotion because you worked for it. They said you were ambitious, threatening, not a team player. The psychology, your reasoning is raw material. In others' hands, it becomes a narrative about you that you never authorized. Starting today, action first, explanation never, or so late it no longer shapes perception. Timing is everything. Not everyone in your life deserves the same level of access. You have been operating open source. That ends now. You treat your coworker and your closest friend with the same transparency. You tell both your doubts, your fears, your limits. The psychology, social capital depends on scarcity. Rare access commands premium respect. Constant access earns contempt. Starting today, audit your access. Who knows your plans, your fears, your failures? Reduce that list by half. Drop this in the comments. My circle is getting smaller and more powerful. The most dangerous people in any room are not the loudest. They are the ones you forgot to watch. They have been watching while you were explaining. They were building while you were defending. They were done before you started. The psychology, silence telegraphs no intention. It creates no resistance, and when you finally move, there is no prepared defense against you. Starting today, let your silence be misread. Let them assume. Their assumption will always be less accurate than your reality. Drop this in the comments. The quieter I become, the more I hear. You are not here to be understood. You are here to achieve. Understanding is a gift, not a prerequisite. 7 principles, 1 directive. Stop performing transparency for people who are performing interest. This isn't cynicism. It isn't manipulation. It is the oldest form of self-preservation there is. Every general who won did it on information asymmetry. You give information, they win. Stop gifting your war plan. And understand, silence used with integrity is entirely different from silence used to deceive. Know the difference. One is armor, one is a trap. You are building armor. That is why you are here. Because the world you are trying to move through is not always safe, and safe people do not always stay safe by being open. You owe no one a tour of your interior. You owe yourself a future. Choose accordingly. Every day you spend explaining yesterday is a day you didn't build tomorrow. The math is brutal. The choice is yours. Your last explanation cost you something. Time, energy, position. You probably didn't even feel it leave. You don't get those back, but every explanation from this point forward is now a choice, a deliberate one. And a deliberate choice made from a position of power. That is not silence. That is sovereignty. Sovereign people don't explain their throne. They sit in it, and the room adjusts. That is what you are becoming. Not cold, not closed, not cruel. Sovereign. That word is going to matter in the next section, because what comes next is where everything consolidates. The 7 lessons are inside you now. They will change what you hear in every conversation from this point forward. You'll hear the invitation to explain, and instead of reacting, you'll choose. That gap is your new life. That gap, Viktor Frankl called it the last human freedom. Machiavelli built empires inside it, and now so will you. We are done with lessons. This is something else. This is the part where you decide what kind of person walks out of this room. The old you is dead. I'm saying that not as metaphor. That version over-explained, over-apologized, over-justified. Gone. You are a weapon, pointed at your own future, not at anyone else, at your own future. This distinction is everything. You belong to no one, not to their opinions, not to their frameworks, not to the version of you they need to stay comfortable. Every person who needed you to explain yourself needed you manageable, needed you predictable, needed you small. That is not love. That is not respect. That is management, and you have just been deregulated. You will walk differently after this, not arrogantly, not coldly, but with the knowledge that you carry something they cannot access without your permission. That interior world, that strategy, that silence, it is yours. It has always been yours. You just kept giving it away. Not anymore. That stops the moment this video ends, and it starts with the next conversation you don't explain yourself in.
If this found you at the right time, you already know it. Something in you recognized this. That recognition is data. Follow it. There is more. The next video goes deeper. Subscribe if that's a decision you're making for yourself, not because I asked. Like this video if it cost you something to watch it, if it made you uncomfortable in the right way. That discomfort is growth. It has a name now. Share this with exactly one person who is still over-explaining. You will know who. You've been watching them lose. Now, give them the map. And the question I want you to sit with, for days if necessary, what have you been explaining that you should have simply been doing? Drop it below.